Hello. Today we'll talk to Carl Bistay, president of SABIS, a global player in education, founded and based in Lebanon, soon to open its first school in Brazil. Hello, Carl. Please tell us something about SABIS's origins. How many countries is SABIS present in around the world?
Hello, Guilherme, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. My best regards to all our friends in Sao Paulo as well. As you probably know, SABIS is a family-owned K-12 education management organization that started back in 1886 in Lebanon and has grown since to becoming a multinational enterprise that operates not just private schools, but public schools as well, educating over 70,000 students in 20 countries on 5 different continents around the world. When the school started the first school started back in 1886, our founders strongly believed then that one of the keys to raising economic standards was through education in general, and most specifically the education of girls. This is why they established their first school in order to educate girls initially in one of the mountains of Lebanon. They first admitted only 28 students, all girls. However, very soon after that, all the villagers around the area came to them and demanded that the school also admits their sons, because they claimed that girls now in the village were starting to outsmart boys. Through its 135 years history, SABIS survived a famine, 2 world wars, World War I and II, and the Lebanese Civil War that was quite devastating. Survival and resilience are really part of our DNA. And this is what has, I would say, allowed us to grow and thrive over the years and continue to drive our sense of purpose across the globe on 5 continents currently.
Very interesting, Carl. Is this then your first school in Latin America?
In fact, no, it is not. We have a school in Panama. It opened its doors in 2018 on a beautiful campus built on 57,000 square meters.
And why did you choose Campinas, Brazil, for your next school?
You know, from our very early beginnings in Panama, we were extremely encouraged by the interest people had for a well-structured, world-class education system, which was being offered relatively at a reasonable price compared to all other very high-end private schools that we find across Latin America. This encouraged us, of course, to explore other opportunities. And when we looked across Latin America, we decided to concentrate on South America and look at Brazil as the next logical place for us to open a school for really a number of reasons that I will mention just a few. One of them, obviously, is the most obvious one, is the size of the market with its growing middle class, which offers the possibility for us as an organization, not just opening one school, but establishing a network of schools across Brazil. The other, really most important reason is the level of understanding and appreciation of the people in Brazil that a solid education is key to a successful future. Once we decided to investigate the Brazilian market, it is worth mentioning that we sought the support of Investe São Paulo, who provided us all the support and market research, I mentioned free of charge, needed to help us zero in eventually on Campinas for 5 major reasons or factors. The first one, it was the number of school-age population in Campinas that was quite attractive for us. The second one, which was really attractive, was, and to our surprise, I must say, was the number of universities, Guilherme. I don't know if you know, but in Campinas, they have over 19 different private and 3 public universities, and one of the major known public university in technology and science all over Brazil. Third, the proximity of Campinas to 2 airports, the one in Campinas itself that was starting to open up different routes to different cities across the world, and the one, of course, in Sao Paulo. The fourth reason was, when we were looking at establishing this project, we wanted to build a real campus, a major campus. So we were looking at adequate plot of lands at a reasonable price, and Campinas offered many such possibilities. And last but not least, the support we received from the municipality, which was really overwhelming, because I believe that they saw a huge added value for such a world-wide organization to come and be established specifically in Campinas. So they have provided us all the support and all the help possible to basically get us to the stage we are in today.
We can very well appreciate it now. But something everyone will want to know. How are you dealing with the challenges introduced by the pandemic?
Guilherme, there is no doubt, it's definitely not a secret, that this global pandemic has had devastating effects on the world economies and on many, many organizations around the world. And we too, as a global organization, had to face many such challenges ourselves. However, I am happy to say that thanks to our massive investment over the years in research and development, we developed a complete digital ecosystem that allowed us to transition seamlessly to an online teaching model when our schools had to close down in most places. From day one, we ensured that the learning never stopped for our students. And around the world, from their various homes, students of all ages, not just the older students, from all ages, logged in every day using their tablets and participated in virtual classroom using the material and the education system they were familiar with when they attended the school. Today, because different governments have taken different approaches, as you know, from the government in Brazil, for example, to dealing with the spread of the virus. Some students in our various schools are now back in school, some are fully online at home, and some are following a hybrid system where they come in to school one week and stay home the next week. For us, no matter which approach our schools are taking, I am very glad to say that we are able to offer our students the same high quality education and standards in any of these instructional models. So in summary, yes, the pandemic has been quite challenging for us like anyone else, but because we were ready, we were able to continue providing the service required by our students.
Still on this so-called digital ecosystem, can you please elaborate on it a little bit more?
Yes, of course, I'll be more than happy to. Just as I mentioned now, what allowed us to react so quickly while others struggled to ensure the continuity of the learning, and that applies to public schools as well as private schools around the world, not just in a specific country, is really, as I said, that digital ecosystem that we had in place well before the pandemic. This digital ecosystem, if I may, simplify it, includes four major elements. The first one, it's a strong and coherent digital curriculum that is supported by a wealth of digital e-learning content, including interactive online lessons, animations, audio recording, on-demand tutoring videos, which are all available on the SABIS ebook series that are used by our SABIS students around the world. And all of this was available before the pandemic. The second thing is the structured pedagogical methodologies that allow our teachers to deliver efficiently the curriculum in either a classroom or in an online virtual environment. So when they move from a pre-pandemic to a post-pandemic environment, being at home, nothing has changed for them because they were used to implementing this structured pedagogical methodology. Third, and very importantly, is a safe and reliable IT infrastructure. Our schools have invested throughout the years into a sophisticated and protected IT infrastructure that allowed our students to connect and our teachers to connect onto it. That allowed, as I said, teachers and students to share and access digital learning content and enable, importantly, the administrators, the school administrators, to assess that learning is actually taking place. It's not just a matter of having kids at home and giving them the way of connecting to the school. We as educators wanted to make sure that we ensured that learning was actually taking place and that our kids were actually learning through the process. And last but not least, it is our ability to continually assess and follow up remotely with our students. So being connected all the time in a two-way conversation at all times in case they have difficulties or they need support. All these elements, when you put them together, is what gave us the edge to ensure that learning never stops. This reminds me, before I end on this question, a remark that one of our parents shared with us when the pandemic started. That parent said, "You were so prepared and moved so seamlessly into this remote learning environment. It was as if you knew the pandemic was coming. Parents didn't feel any difference, and students certainly didn't feel any difference." And this is really what allowed us to ensure that the learning never stopped throughout last year and during the current year.
Clearly, your methodology was ready for this crisis we are living. Turning to the SABIS Campina School, expected to open soon, and with this construction underway since last October. Carl, could you please talk us through of that future SABIS school? How are the works progressing?
As a matter of fact, I'm very happy to share with you that the school will be opening its doors next week on Monday, the 8th of February. So work is progressing extremely well. We're ready. Our doors are opening. We have already students registered for the preparatory course in English that we will be offering from now until end of June. And we're offering this course for grade 2 to 8 to students ahead of the full academic year that begins in August. And when it begins in August, that academic year will be covering grades from pre-kindergarten all the way to grade 8. Our curriculum at this school it's important to mention that it is fully aligned to state and national standards and prepares students for external exams such as the American Advanced Placement exam or the British Cambridge International exam. But most importantly, the feature of this school is that it will also prepare students for their NM and vestibular external exam. By doing this, we are preparing students for acceptance to the universities of their choice, if it is a foreign university or a local university, if students decide to stay in Brazil and attend a local university. Now, with regards to the school campus, we are building a beautiful campus that will be built on a plot of land with a size of 100,000 square meters. Its location in Campinas, if your listeners or viewers know Campinas well, is opposite where the synchrotron is currently built. The construction of the facilities will continue in phases. We just finished phase 1, but when the school will be complete, it will consist of a total of 27,000 square meters of built-up area and will include separate buildings for the administration, for the kindergarten, for the lower school, middle school, and upper school. A very nice feature of the school for our young learners is the kindergarten building, or we call it the infant block, is a separate unit, completely separate unit that has its own facilities suited for the needs of our young learners. And it also includes their own infant swimming pool, a very nice feature in that block. The rest of the facilities include state-of-the-art science and computer lab, a semi-Olympic swimming pool, 2 football fields with running tracks, 2 outdoor basketball courts, a multi-purpose gymnasium, lots and lots of green areas, and a large dining hall that serves fresh and healthy meals. There will also be a 400-seat performing arts center for the plays and musical our students will undoubtedly put on. And I'm sure very soon this theater will be used to stage our graduation ceremonies in it. It really, as you see, Guilherme, is a complete campus that will offer our students a one-of-a-kind experience.
No doubt, state-of-the-art facilities that we'll have in Campinas. Now, going back to the preparatory course, why do you need one, actually?
Well, you know, this prep course has been specifically designed for our students who come to us whose mother tongue is not English. And we did this in order to help them acquire the level of English they will need to start the academic year in August successfully. And this is why we're preparing them through this prep course in English. You see, Guilherme, as you know, many parents would like their children to attend a top quality, world-class education system. Many parents, if not most parents. Unfortunately, this is not possible in many cases for two major reasons. The high level of tuition fees and or a language barrier. And usually a world-class education system has an element of the English language being offered in it. So, however, as you are aware as well, international school fees are very expensive and many families simply cannot afford them. For example, and I'm sure you know that from your friends, in Sao Paulo specifically, international private schools tuition fees vary from 6,000 to 10,000 reals per month, which is huge for a middle-class family to attend and be able to join and avail themselves and their children with a high standard education. What really makes us stand out is that we are offering our tried and tested education system at a reasonable cost. It is going to be well below what these international schools are charging in the market.
Well, Carl, we well understand all those advantages, but I'd like to ask you, what is really different and unique about the SABIS education? Why should our viewers enroll their children in SABIS?
This is an extremely important question, and I thank you for asking me this question. I don't think I'll have the time to answer it because it will take me a whole day to explain in depth and details, but I'll attempt to summarize my thoughts and be concise in my answer. You see, what is important to keep in mind is the following. As the world becomes more and more competitive, and everybody agrees to this fact, and everybody agrees that the world is becoming more competitive across the world. Parents are more aware than ever before of the importance of choosing the right school for their children. I think this is where we should start in attempting to answer the question. Having said that, what is the definition of the right school? You know, if you ask different friends of yours, probably each one will give you a different definition depending on their understanding. In order, according to me, in order to be able to answer this question, we should fast forward 20 or 25 years and try to imagine what the world will look like then. Let's take an example. Today, we are obviously in 2021, and if we have a 5-year-old who joins SABIS Campinas today, this 5-year-old child will probably, at the time after they graduate from school and from college, and maybe they go to graduate school, they will be entering the job market in the year 2035, maybe 2040, and maybe further. So who can guess what the world will look like then? Nobody. Nobody can do that. And this is really the difficulty. This is very difficult guess, as I said, because of all the disruptions that will be taking place along the way. Today, if you think back 5 years from today, we had so many disruptions in our world. So many technologies have changed. Industries in the coming 15, 20 years will be disrupted. Companies, technologies disappearing and being replaced by others that are better, more performing, and some that we have not seen or have not heard of yet. So It is in this environment that this 5-year-old will have to live and succeed. And going back to us, to SABIS Campinas, to our responsibility and our job is not just to help this child succeed this year or next year. Our job is really to prepare this child to succeed in the future, in the year 2035 and 2040. Parents that come to us can rest assured that at SABIS Campinas, their children will acquire a solid foundation of knowledge, allowing them to be lifelong learners and continuously adapt and succeed in that ever-changing global marketplace. Their children will also, through our student life organization and throughout their years at school, develop soft life skills such as collaboration, leadership, communication, creativity, tolerance, and open-mindedness, as well as other social skills that will allow them to succeed in the global village they will be living in.
Speaking of the future, this time the immediate future, which novelties introduced during the current crisis do you foresee to remain in post-COVID-19 schooling? Are they bound to lead to physical changes in school layouts? And if so, will your Campinas campus design be affected in any way?
Well, as you know, this COVID-19 pandemic has created what we call a new normal. And so many things have changed in the past few months, which I'm sure will leave their mark on many aspects of how we live, how we work, and how we learn. And it will obviously impact physical spaces, not just at school, but workplaces, in the office, and even homes. You know, nowadays, in most publications that I'm reading, there is a big debate going on about the need of having corporate offices where everyone converge and work there. Since that proof of concept was established that people could work remotely and still be efficient. The jury is still out there in as far as which direction this is going to be taking. Going back to the school environment, in general, I don't foresee a drastic change in campus design. Schools will continue to offer a place for students to converge other than learning, to play sports, socialize, perform plays and musical, and most importantly, forge lifelong relationship. And we all know that the relationship that we build in primary or high school are relationships that end up lasting a lifetime. Having said that, I do foresee, for example, library spaces disappearing, with everything now being digitally accessible. There seems to be space that can be better used. This library space seems to be, better used for other areas that encourage collaboration, for example, and project or group work among students. There might be other small changes in the size of the classrooms, where there might be maybe bigger classrooms to involve more collaborative work among students. All of this is still being discussed and tested. And there's no doubt that the advent of technology and the digital revolution that we're all living and our students are living will open up new vistas in the way we think and act and live.
As we thank you, Carl, we welcome the arrival of SABIS for a much needed addition to excellence in elementary and middle schooling in this country. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Guilherme, for giving me this opportunity to share with your listeners and your viewers, what SABIS stands for and what our plan is currently in Campinas and our plan in Brazil, more generally. And I do look forward to SABIS becoming part of the Brazilian DNA and establishing itself in Brazil for many, many years to come. So thank you again. And I would like to lead by sending through you an invite to all your listeners and readers to visit the campus in Campinas. And whenever they have the possibility of visiting Campinas, please do come and visit SABIS Campinas. Our local teams there would be more than happy and proud to show you not just the buildings, but the type of education that we're imparting on our young learners.